They called her a goddess, a force of nature, a protector of her people. But behind the storms, behind the worship, was a secret so scandalous it shook the foundations of 3 kingdoms. Set in the ancient tri-kingdoms of Ijuba, Akam, and Zibala, the tale begins with a powerful woman named Adesola, said to have been born during a cyclone and able to summon the rains with her cries. Villagers tell of how she healed lands from drought, summoned floods to punish oppressors, and vanished into the clouds whenever danger approached. They worshipped her as the storm goddess of the west wind. But what no one knew was that she was never a goddess. She was a rebel scientist in hiding. The air was thick with humidity, the kind that clung to your skin like sweat-drenched silk. Ifunanya Dede, award-winning journalist and bold truth-seeker, stood before the crumbling vine-covered archway that jutted out of the earth like a broken tooth. Her flashlight flickered once, twice, then steady. The camcorder slung over Kunnal's shoulder was already rolling. They had journeyed for 3 days through the whispering forests of Akam, guided by a hand-drawn map hidden inside a rusted locket, a family heirloom passed down from a dying woman who had only whispered 2 words on her deathbed. "Find her." "Is this it?" Kunnal asked, eyes wide as he scanned the carved symbols on the stone entrance. Ifunanya stepped forward and touched the glyphs, spirals, lightning bolts, and what looked like circuits etched in ancient stone. "Not just it," she whispered. "This is where they buried the truth." The temple door groaned open with a low rumble. Inside, darkness swirled like breath on glass. They entered cautiously, beams of their flashlights cutting through thick layers of dust and forgotten time. What they saw defied everything they'd been taught. The walls weren't just clay, they were reinforced with metal, pulsing faintly with energy. Intricate patterns lined the chamber floors like a motherboard, glowing faint blue under the dust. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and upon it, a book sealed in glass. Ifunanya wiped the surface clean. The diary of Adesola. She carefully opened it. The pages glowed softly, written not with ink, but with some bioluminescent script. She read aloud, "I was not born of storms, but of brilliance. I was no goddess, I was a maker, a healer, a weapon if they so chose. They needed a myth, so they made one. They feared the truth, so they chained me to legend." The room shook. Hidden panels clicked open to reveal ancient weather schematics, diagrams showing atmospheric manipulations, cloud seeding technology, and a crude yet brilliant storm reactor design, all centuries ahead of its time. "This isn't a shrine," Kunnal murmured. "It's a lab." "No," Ifunanya corrected him, heart pounding. "It's a cover-up. They turned a woman into a deity to erase her inventions, to bury her voice, to hide what she built and what they stole." The camera zoomed in as lightning cracked outside, casting Adesola's silhouette carved high on the temple's ceiling, in sharp relief. The truth was no longer buried. It had just been awakened. The sound of distant drums echoed through the palace walls as Ifunanya moved like a shadow through the royal corridors. Cloaked in a plain servant's shawl, she slipped past guards who were too busy preparing for the storm festival to notice her presence. Kunnal, already inside the hidden records chamber, whispered, "You're late." "Almost got caught at the gate," she whispered back. "Let's move fast." The chamber was colder than she remembered. Rows of forbidden scrolls, dust-covered volumes, and sealed wooden boxes lined the walls. The royal family had always claimed that the temple ruins were sacred grounds too dangerous for commoners. But Ifunanya now knew why. They were hiding a legacy of lies. She pulled out a cracked scroll tied in golden twine and unrolled it across the table. What she saw made her blood freeze. Order of the Elders. Initiate Project Stormgate. Subject: Adesola. Purpose: weaponization of weather. Control through divinity. It was all deliberate, Kunnal whispered. They turned her into a goddess so no one would question the energy experiments. She was the prototype. But that wasn't all. Tucked beneath the scroll was a yellowed letter, written in hurried strokes. "Adesola is resisting. She's beginning to suspect the truth about her role. If she speaks, everything collapses. Recommendation: containment or permanent silencing." Ifunanya clenched her jaw, rage surging through her. "They killed her. They feared her mind. Suddenly, a creak at the door. They froze. In stepped Chief Omateo, the queen's advisor, and the same man who had once funded Ifunanya's early career. His face was calm, but his eyes were venom. "I warned you, child," he said. "Some truths are meant to die in silence. You were part of it." Ifunanya's voice trembled, not with fear, but fury. "You erased a woman's brilliance. You turned her genius into myth." "She was dangerous," Omateo said coolly. "She wanted to change the world, but the world wasn't ready. We gave them a goddess instead. And it worked. But not forever." Cunnel stepped forward. "The truth's out now." Omateo laughed, slow and low. "Then run, little hunters. Run and see how far truth gets you, before the storm catches up." He stepped back into the shadows, and in his place, 2 guards emerged. Ifunanya grabbed the diary, the scroll, and the letter. "No more hiding," she whispered. "Let the storm begin." They bolted through a secret exit just as the alarm echoed through the palace halls. Lightning cracked outside, but this time, it wasn't divine. It was Adesola's revenge, rising. The city of Akam awoke to a sky that churned with unnatural fury. A deep, electric hum vibrated through the streets, shaking windows and rattling rooftops. It wasn't just a storm, it was a reckoning. Ifunanya and Cunnel raced through the marketplace, clutching the scrolls and Adesola's glowing diary. Everywhere they turned, screens flickered, power grids overloaded, holographic billboards glitched, displaying flashes of Adesola's face and the words, "She was never a goddess. She was a prisoner. She's taking over the tech systems," Cunnel shouted over the chaos. "This must be the storm reactor she designed. It's waking up." People stopped and stared as weather drones dropped from the sky. Lightning danced unnaturally close to the ground, striking key government buildings, but never harming a single civilian. It was targeted, controlled, intelligent. At the palace gates, soldiers formed a barrier, but the gates burst open with a thunderclap, no one touching them. Inside, Chief Omateo watched from a balcony, his face pale. "The myth is unraveling," he muttered. Ifunanya turned on her live broadcast. "People of Akam, for centuries, you worshipped a lie. Adesola was no goddess, she was a genius. They feared her power, so they buried her name. But now her truth is the storm that cannot be stopped." The city stood still. Then, as if in response, the clouds parted and from above, a final bolt of lightning carved her symbol into the sky. A woman crowned with electricity, eyes open, no longer silent. The people roared. A legend had fallen, but a truth had risen. The air was different now, cleaner, lighter, as if the storm had washed away not just the lies, but the very weight of silence that had held the city hostage for generations. Ifunanya stood on a newly built stage in the center of the plaza, where the statue of the storm goddess had once towered in stone. That statue now lay shattered beside her, replaced by a massive bronze sculpture. Adesola, not in divine robes, but in her engineer's coat, arms outstretched to the sky, lightning dancing from her fingertips. The crowd stretched as far as the eye could see. Old men, weeping, mothers holding daughters, children wearing shirts with her name, and above them, thrones buzzed, this time projecting the truth. Ifunanya stepped up to the mic. Cunnel stood beside her, eyes filled with awe. "Today," she began, voice steady, "we bury a lie and raise a legacy." Cheers rose. The woman you knew as the storm goddess was not a spirit from the skies, but a flesh and blood visionary. Adesola Olufemi, a scientist, a rebel, a genius silenced because she dared to build a future without fear. She paused, her voice heavy with emotion. They erased her name to keep control, turned her brilliance into myth so they could worship her, not question her. But thanks to her diary, her designs, and your courage to believe, Adesola has returned, not as thunder, but as truth. The crowd erupted again. In the royal palace, now abandoned and turned into a museum, Adesola's storm reactor had been deactivated, not destroyed. Engineers from across the continent were invited to study it, learn from it, and continue her dream, ethically and freely. Chief Omateo and the council were gone, arrested and tried by an international court for crimes against human rights and scientific suppression. Their names would be remembered not in glory, but in infamy. As the sun pierced the last gray clouds, Ifunanya turned to Kunal. "Do you think she knows?" she asked quietly. Kunal smiled, looking up at the skies. "I think she's been watching the whole time." And smiling, a gust of wind swept through the plaza, strong and warm. The bronze lightning in Adesola's sculpture sparked briefly, just once. Was it a trick of the light? Or something more? People gasped, whispered, and then applauded. Because whether it was science, soul, or something in between, they knew one thing now. Adesola was not a goddess. She was greater. She was one of them. And she had changed everything. As night fell, the city's power grid glowed with soft, steady light, powered now not by mystery, but by knowledge. And over the city gates, carved in stone, a new inscription read, "Here lies the myth. Here rises the mind."